So to piggyback on that last video that got cut off, I had listened to the whole thing to figure out where it got cut off. So I guess it really cut off a lot more than I expected. But where it was cut off was that my recipe, my drink, was tested by an independent company that was first too numerous to count. So the lactobacillus that I sent in, the 3-day one, was too numerous to count. That was the initial outcome. And then their official formal actual answer was that it was 13 million colony forming units of probiotics in my drink. 13 million. It is not antibiotic. It's a probiotic matched with the right nutrition and the right salt and the water. And this is what causes the balance of your antibodies. It causes the balance of your yeast cells so it doesn't turn into cancer. And it causes balance of your hormones. So the whole thing with the pro-vax and anti-vax, it needs to be off the table as far as your platforms, because you can't fight the system that is trying to legislate a specific type of scenario that does cater to the lowest common denominator. You can't legislate morals, but you can at least get some kind of test that has a specific condition set to say, okay, if you received the vaccine or you received the antibody or the antigen in some way and you test positive, and that positive is based upon a test that was set by the government, that you're going to be fine. You don't need to get a vaccine, or you need to get a vaccine to show protection. Because whether you give your kid to a measles party, or you get the vaccine, or you get a homeoprophylaxis, or you got it through natural immunity through your mother, either way, that's how you acquire the antigen to then get the antibody. So it doesn't even matter how you acquired the antibody. It's a matter of, are you actually testing positive for the antibody to satisfy government requirements? And now you have choices. First and foremost, get the titer test to know where you stand. Once you figure out where you stand and where you test positive, where you test negative, then you have a choice on how you acquire the antibody. Then you submit that to your government, and then you do the J juice that gives you the lactobacillus and the nutrients and everything else to dilute the antibodies so it doesn't work against you over time. Okay? That is the process by which you are able to protect yourself and satisfy government requirements. This whole strategy came from Jilly Juice. I didn't have this strategy 2 years ago. I was anti-vax just like you. I was afraid of all the different negative elements floating around. I was living in fear. When you live in fear, you're a slave. When you live in fear, you're ignorant. When you live in fear, you're all of the above. When you actually understand the knowledge behind Jilly Juice and you understand the laws behind everything, you stop living in fear and you're finally in the pole position. You are in control. But those of you that are living in fear because you are still ignorant, and then you say, well, I'm a slave. Well, yeah, you are a slave. Ignorant people are slaves. That's a fact. Okay? I'm not a slave because I'm not living in fear. Hello, Lisa Renee Prince. So do the Jilly Juice. I don't see them force vaccinating everybody, but you never know. It may happen. You never know. It could potentially happen. And if it does, what is your plan? What's your plan A? What's your plan B? And what's your plan C? Plan A is get the titer test. Plan B is, okay, now you see where you are. Maybe you're missing antibodies in this one area. Now you have a choice. You can get the vaccine, get the homeoprophylaxis, or you go find somebody that's positive for this disease. Well, it's probably easier to get the homeoprophylaxis, or maybe more expensive. Maybe easier just to purchase a vaccine. But I guess the homeoprophylaxis is the other option, because if it's like a pill that has the pathogens, then just take the freaking pill. And then they're like, okay, well, you got the homeoprophylaxis. Do they just want a proof of that you got the prescription? If that's all they need, then everybody can just purchase a homeoprophylaxis, don't ever take it, and then that's all they need. They don't have to do it, they don't have to worry about it. And still do the jelly juice. But if they're like, okay, well, now you got the homeoprophylaxis, so how are they going to prove the antibody? It just all depends on what they require. So now you have all your strategies in place. There's no more living in fear. And you're doing the jelly juice. But here's the thing, when you do jelly juice, it's not just going to be for that specific vaccine, for that MMR or whatever flu vaccine. You'll be dealing with the mutations that are all in your body, and you're going to have to deal with a bunch of stuff. So when you do the jelly juice, not only are you going to deal with that specific mutation from that vaccine, but everything else that you've ever been exposed to. So you're on a path of ultimate yay, but you got to know what you're dealing with. So yeah, it's all or nothing with jelly juice. It's all or nothing. Once you do jelly juice, you really can't stop, because now are embarked on a journey that there is no return. I mean, there is, yeah, you can go back to being mutated and succumb to the system. Or you realize that when you do J juice, all of your 11 different systems are going to be addressed, even from that vaccine or homeoprophylaxis or that exposure. Okay? So once you do J juice, nothing is discriminated against. It's not just going to fix that specific mutation from that vaccine or homeoprophylaxis. Once you do J juice, everything gets addressed, and you can't dictate what's going to be addressed first. So I got my recipe tested by an independent lab, and it proved that it's a probiotic, and then you're seeing the results in the outcome. So you all can play being all fearful of this system and say, oh yeah, the government is trouncing on my rights. No, your ignorance is trouncing on your rights. If you don't know the laws, those of you who are so fearful of the government, of the system, of vaccines, of GMO, of chemtrails, of 5G, you don't know the laws. You're ignorant of the laws because you're fearful of things that have really no bearing in your world. If you're being forced into a gas chamber, yeah, you have recourse. If somebody is breaking down your door, trying to get in and hurt your family, yeah, that's where you're in imminent danger. That's where you should be like, oh my God, and then you react accordingly. But no, the chemtrails are not a problem. No, the vaccines are not a problem. No, the government is not a problem, because you are the countering, balancing force against any negative entity. And it's not fighting fire with fire. It's fighting the elements with different other elements. It's being that balancing force, not contributing to the negative forces that are out there. So when you're fighting against vaccines, you're contributing to the antibody acquisition. That's a concept that's very difficult. When you're fighting against vaccines, that's what you're doing. So you might as well do the J juice. Get off the platform of all of your conspiracy stuff. Stop being anti-vax. Stop being anti-government. And understand how the laws, why it is that we have these specific legislations in place, why we have them to begin with. And then once you understand that, then you understand the arguments, then you understand then what chemistry needs to be applied to counter anything that could potentially hurt you. And no matter what, whether you get the vaccine or you get homeoprophylaxis or you go to a measles party or you get exposed by somebody else, you're acquiring the antibody. It's still going to do you harm if you don't know how to counter it, no matter what. So it doesn't matter how you acquire the antibody regardless. But you have to show proof that you have protection in some way. But you can counter it. And this is so paramount for those that are so fearful. Your fear is going to do you in. Your anti-government stance is going to do you in. Your conspiracy theory is going to do you in, because now you are putting energy into ignorance, not into knowledge. And it shows. When you are fearful, you are ignorant. Period, point blank. Like seriously, period, point blank. Fear equals ignorance. And that goes for people who are fearful of my juice, because you're ignorant of understanding that the quality and the chemistry that's involved with jelly juice. And if you don't even talk about jelly juice and you're doing everything else, then you're not exactly, and you're saying that you're trying to help the world and you're playing to the anti-vax, you're not helping humanity actually at all. You are contributing to the degradation of humanity if you're not understanding the points, the finer points of jelly juice. Because what else do people have? You can't promote prevention. You can't prevent pathogens and you can't prevent healing. So what the hell are you preventing? You're preventing knowledge. That's what you're doing. When you're promoting activism, you're preventing knowledge. Promote jelly juice. Promote that knowledge. If not, then I don't know what the hell you're doing or what you think you're doing. But it ain't helping humanity. Understand the finer points of J juice. Like, seriously. All right, so that's the ending of the video that I'm going to attach that because it got cut off. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.